Curl flat drop, okay? We get these, our guys do a good job of understanding that that they have a defined detail within it, a gap, a responsibility, and them being able to recite this information back allows our guys to understand and handle motion adjustments, run fits, pulls, whatever it may be. So the way we teach curl flat drop, your run gap responsibility is outside of number 2. So when you think of it that way, it lets you handle, hey, if I'm displaced, I'm walked outside the box, I have a displaced number 2, my run gap responsibility is outside of that guy. So anytime I have a displaced number 2, I'm outside, I'm the edge of the defense for the underneath coverage. Okay, I have an attached number 2, and once in any way, shape, or form, my gap responsibility is outside of that number 2 skilled player. If he gets a down block and I get a pull or whatever it may be at me, I'm leveraging the ball back. I'm always going to make sure that I understand that realistically I'm the edge of the defense in that situation. Okay. If our number 2 is ever in the backfield, meaning he's a running back, he's a sniffer, whatever it may be, I have the first available gap to my side. And what that does for our guys is makes, you handle all the different formation variations. You're able to handle all the motions, all the shifts, whatever it may be. If you just use those rules and continue to use that and basically play it out and let everything handle it, but you just use your rules, you'll be able to fit up any run and understand your gap responsibility in that aspect of it. Pass responsibility, okay? How we teach that, we go 12 yards top of the numbers, okay, is our pass responsibility. That's our initial aiming point. We try to make that happen. We'll go through the progression of how we teach that and how we drill that specifically. But our aiming point is 12 yards top of the numbers. We just use that as an initial landmark, an initial exit angle for those guys to attempt to hit once they've rerouted or whatever it may be. Okay. Your first responsibility, obviously understanding, this goes back to defining the coverage and what we're trying to get accomplished within the coverage. Cover 3 is obviously something that teams are going to attack. If they get you and they know you're in single high coverage, they know you're going to play 3 deep, one of the number 1 things you're going to see is 4 verticals, okay? Obviously having 4 verticals stress you down the field, puts a stress on all 3 of those guys, obviously, in the back end. So how we teach that for our curl flat droppers is if you have the ability to eliminate a vertical, then eliminate a vertical and let's only have 3 verticals pushing those 3 guys down the field. Okay, so what we teach is we basically use our hands, right? Use our wingspan on our body. We use basically the phrase eliminating a vertical is anything within your wingspan. So I'm going to work and shuffle to reroute anything within my wingspan. If he reroutes or releases wider than that, he's rerouted himself and he's eliminated the chance for him to run a vertical route. Okay, so that's how we teach that at the first aspect of eliminating the vertical. All right, and then after that, like we talked about this previously, is we call it a curl to flat drop. So your initial drop, like we talked about, is 12 yards top of the numbers. We're just using that as our curl window. That's what we call our curl window. So when they initially exit, their angle of departure, they're going to be somewhere near 12 yards top of the numbers. That is our curl window. And then as the shoulder progresses across his face, he will drive to the flat. Okay, so just like you see on the screen, okay, we tell them to hold the curl until the shoulders of the quarterback progress you to your next progression within the drop. Okay, obviously you got to be able to handle wheels. Majority of the time we just teach that to those guys as the wheel of number 3 or anything out of the backfield. So if you ever get a wheel by a running back, we'll take that guy and carry that guy down the field. And I'll show you kind of a progression of how we teach that because we still keep vision on the quarterback so that if he tries to clear out the curl flat window, he can still drive if they bring somebody back across. And we'll talk about our pushes and progressions within cover 3 as well. So here's a little bit of video kind of showing you a little bit of how we do it. This is just a good diagram kind of to show you our initial reroute by the nickel in this situation. Okay, good exit angle here. Right, once he exit angles, he's thinking 12 yards top of the numbers, and then obviously depending on vision is where his next break is going to become. Okay, so in this situation, he'll push to 12 yards top of the numbers, he'll progress to the flat, okay, or if the quarterback's trying to throw the curl behind him, he'll work, break, flatten back in, okay, or obviously, as you can see here, that last diagram with the purple, okay, if that's the case and he's just looking straight down the field, if I have nothing holding me to the flat or no curl to my side, I'll obviously hinge and I'll look for something working from the backside. Okay, so that's where the over factors in. Okay, so moving on to this. All right, so obviously you can see here, all right, this is just an initial progression for us of how we teach the initial reroute of this aspect, all right, and then just an initial exit angle. So everything we do starts with an initial reroute. Once we reroute, boom, I'm punching out at an exit angle with my vision back on the quarterback. I'm not worried about anything else. You have to get it ingrained in their mind, right, to reroute and exit angle without ever adding a route, without ever adding balls, without ever adding a QB progression. You just want them to get comfortable with their initial exit angle once they've rerouted in their initial aiming point. You also have to practice that from the field perspective as well as the boundary, because the depth and the angle that they initially have to depart is completely different. So this is us just working that, okay? We're just working the initial reroute aspect of it, all right? Then obviously here, okay, we're working a progression where we're going to reroute, okay, vision's back on the quarterback, and we're working flat and back in. So this is an example, okay, here of us being able to do that, where we reroute, quarterback vision's back inside, so we're going to break back in on the curl, all right? Here's another progression of this, all right? So we're working here, all right? That guy's going to reroute. He's looking for quarterback shoulder crosses his face. He's going to break to the flat, all right? Same thing here, reroute. Eyes back, as soon as the shoulder crosses his face, right, he's breaking to the flat. And a big aspect of that drill and that just very, very simple concept is getting those guys to understand they don't have to look at routes. Get your information from the quarterback. The quarterback will tell you all you need to know. The quarterback is going to drop. Once he drops back, boom, he's looking at the curl. As soon as his shoulder crosses your face to work to the flat, we can break before the ball's ever thrown. Okay, and the reason is because we have 4 underneath pieces that should be working together. So as that quarterback shoulder, he progresses to the curl and then works to the flat, okay, that curl flat piece should be progressing to the flat. That hook curl piece should be progressing from the hook of 2 to the curl of 1. Okay, so understanding that those pieces are tied in together and we're all progressing off QB vision, we have to do a really, really good job of understanding we're not looking at routes, because when you look at routes, you're not going to be able to see the shoulder progression of the quarterback, and then we're not all tied in as one underneath unit, okay? So big aspect of that. All right, here's a couple game clips of this, all right, just to show you a little bit of this, right? You see this down here, right, working down here on the slot receiver here, okay, right? He's here, he works back, okay? Same thing, right? Obviously, this is if we're getting China or double slant or whatever it may be. That's a very, very easy progression for us, right? Where we're working here. If we get 2 vertical, 1 underneath, we can necessarily snap off on it, okay? And then when you see up top is a very, very good curl flat drop, basically versus quick game up top. So you see this up top. He does a good job holding. Shoulder crosses his face, he's able to break, okay? Another aspect of this that we really haven't touched on is the 5-yard no cover zone, okay? A lot of times we tell our guys 5-yard no cover zone, let it all sort itself out for those guys. That way you let routes distribute. You obviously, like I told you, we're never even going to see the routes. We should be working off the quarterback, and it allows us, if they're going to throw dink and dunk all the way down the field, right? That's what we want them to do. Majority of the time, we're trying to keep the ball in front of us. We're trying to drive on the ball. We're trying to make plays. Obviously, like I tell my guys all the time, is at the end of the day, if you're a receiver or a running back and you catch the check down in cover 3, you're going to have 2 guys that should be breaking on the ball instantaneously, right, and be able to make an immediate hit on that guy, right, with nobody to block for him, right? And so if you're a receiver or running back, that's not what you always want to do. You want to have blockers, whatever it may be. So that's your chance to obviously create turnovers, right, to get big hits on guys, right, whatever it may be if we play with good vision, okay? So you see this right here. This is a good job by number 7, okay? You see him. Initially, he knows number 2 is in the backfield, okay? As that motion happens, he slides to outside leverage on number 2, okay, right? This is a good job by him, obviously. Like we talked about, just understanding his gap fit, his gap responsibility, right? And then also understanding majority of the time when you get stacks and things like that, they've eliminated the chances of going 4 verts versus you. So now that allows you to progress and you can punch out immediately, okay? Moving to the next one, same thing, right? Got a curl flat piece to the field, okay, right? He's here, he's trying to progress, right? He feels that initial right? Release behind him, but he does a good job. Keep your vision back on the quarterback. Wait till the shoulder crosses your face. As soon as it does, drive, okay, right?